Good morning, everybody. This is Joelle Anthony, the Grave Woman. I'm sorry that I'm squinting, but the sun is like really shining in my face right now. But I'm on my way home from coming home. I came to South Carolina from Atlanta, and now I'm on my way from my mother's house in my hometown back to Atlanta, where I live now. And I've just been really thinking about what it means to go home. And I know a lot of times we refer to death as the ultimate homegoing. And I don't know if you guys are watching a lot of TV or not, but it seems like the theme of a lot of shows is to keep our consciousness here on earth, even if our physical bodies have expired. And I just wanted to know what you guys think about that and also share my opinion on it. Hold on one second. I gotta get out the road. There's a car coming. But I think it's an interesting concept to think about the fact that humans are still in pursuit of the fountain of youth or living for eternity. But to me, that's just unnatural. In life, we go through this experience and we have our families, we have children, we have, spouses, and people die off. And a lot of times, a lot of people have a hard time dealing with death because it seems like such an end. And a lot of times, as people get older, you'll hear them say, well, I just want to go home. I'm ready to go home and, I'm tired. And I can't imagine not having a place to go home to eternally. Depending on what your spiritual beliefs are, that could be heaven or hell, or if you don't believe in those things, it could be the next dimension. You could level up, you could do this, you could do that. But I had a friend say to me a couple years ago, I can't imagine having no place to go. And the more that I think about that, the more that I can relate to it. But I just wanted to share those thoughts. It might not make sense to some. Some people will get it, some won't, and that's okay. But I also wanted to take the time to share all of this beauty. It's like the older you get, when you're young, you can't wait to get away from where you're from in many cases. And the older that I get, the more I realize how beautiful where I'm from, South Carolina, the Low Country, Beaufort, South Carolina to be specific. I realize how beautiful it is. I'm going to turn the camera around in just a second, but I just wanted to share this with you guys. I thought this was such a beautiful backdrop. I actually wish I could set the camera up out in the middle of the road, but I don't want to get hit by a car. If you see me looking back, I'm looking back for snakes because there are snakes out here. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. So live life, love hard, and I'll talk to you later. Love you. So I think it's really interesting. I don't know if you guys know what these are, but I just made the video about death and going home, and I had to find some place to turn around. And as I'm turning around in this particular yard, there are 3 vultures or buzzards out here. And I really just thought that was interesting. If you believe in signs, that may mean something to you. If not, I want you to think about the fact that vultures feed on dead animals. And I just think it's so ironic that I randomly turned into this space and there are 3 of them here. Now there's only 1. I think they hear my voice and they're scaring off. That one's like, I ain't scared. We ain't running today, boo. There goes another one. But I just wanted to share that with you guys as well. Alright, so I just showed the video of the buzzards that I ran into when turning around after making the video about going home. And it really makes me think about signs and what people believe certain things mean. Like, for instance, we're talking about home, and where I'm from in South Carolina, birds can represent a lot of different things. Like if there's a bird in your home, like if a bird gets in the house, a lot of people say it represents death. Birds are messengers. Even in the Bible, birds represent peace or safety or safe haven, or it's safe to set up home. And buzzards are birds which feed on things that are dead. And it's just so funny to me that after seeing those birds, I've been thinking like, okay, well, it doesn't necessarily have to represent death. It could be a sign that, you know, you were right on the head. And 3, when you talk about signs and numerology, is the number of perfection. So it just really made me think about signs. So I'm interested to know what you all associate birds with, and what other signs or, you know, messages from the universe you all receive. Because I'll give you guys a little bit of background about me. I grew up very Christian, very much so involved in the church and the community. No one in my family, to my knowledge, is a pastor, but I grew up going to church a lot, grew up believing in God, believing in Jesus, and I still do. But I don't necessarily believe things the way that they are. I don't take things the way that they're presented without doing my own soul searching with it. And though I believe church is a wonderful thing, I don't feel like you have to be in church 24/7. I believe that God speaks to us through the universe. I believe God speaks to us in our day-to-day lives. I believe God speaks to us through signs and wonders. I honestly believe that. And I know this is getting like a little personal, but I ask you guys a lot personally, and I feel like it's only fair that I offer and let you guys know where I'm coming from and be transparent about it. But one of the things that I truly believe in are signs. And birds hold a very special significance to me, because when I was a little girl, my dad, we had this wind chime in our bedroom, and it was, the little chime parts were in the shapes of these pastel colored birds. And every night my dad would pick my sister and I up on his shoulders, and he'd tell us to hit the birds. And we'd hit the birds, and he would tuck us into bed, and then he'd kiss us goodnight. And the sound of the wind chime almost sounded like birds chirping. And that's how I would go to sleep every night. And when my parents got separated and divorced, whenever my dad would come over, you know, eventually we got too big to be hoisted up on his shoulders, but he would have us either hit the birds or he would hit the birds, and he would tell us good night, birds. And even now as adults, he sends us text messages occasionally, and it says good night, birds. So birds have always had a very special place in my heart. So when I saw the birds after, you know, making that video, it was like, okay, even though these birds represent death, seemingly the birds hold a special place in my heart. So it was like a confirmation, almost like God saying good job, you know, to me. But someone else could see those birds and have a completely different relationship with them. And I'm interested to know what signs you all believe, particularly as it relates to I don't want to say premonition, but death. There's a lot of people, and just about every culture that I've researched, they believe that when certain things happen, it's a forewarning that death is coming. So what are the things in your culture that are the signs in your culture that represent death, or that someone may be passing away soon? And on the other end of that, what are the signs that give you comfort when someone passes away? Like, my sister and I had a conversation, and we have like very strange conversations. My family, for the most part, is very open about talking about death, and I think that has to do a lot with the fact that my uncle is a funeral director, or was a funeral director. He's passed away, and I'm a funeral service practitioner. I can't say I'm a funeral director yet because I don't have my license. It's coming, but don't have it yet, so I can't call myself a funeral director. But what are the signs that give you comfort? A couple months ago, I posted a photo on the Grave Woman Instagram page and on Facebook of a rainbow and 2 birds. Here go these birds again in the sky. What happened was, my family and I went on a cruise in November. My mother, her friend, my sister, my grandmother, my boyfriend, and we all went on a cruise. And the last time that we had been on a cruise as a family, my uncle and my grandfather were alive. So since then, both my uncle and my grandfather have passed away. And we were out on the deck. We were in Nassau, I believe. and had gotten back on the ship, went to have lunch, and I was on the deck just thinking, you know, the last time we were all on a boat together, Granddaddy and Uncle Mark were here, and I kind of was a little bit emotional, and we saw a rainbow. My sister and I saw a rainbow, and I was trying to take one of those pictures where it looks like you're touching the rainbow in the background, and as my sister was taking the picture, these birds flew into the shot. And I just thought that was such a sign of love and comfort and peace, and the spirits of my uncle and my grandfather saying, you know what, you're okay. We're with you. We love you. Enjoy yourself. Don't be sad. That's what I took from it. Someone else could see that picture and think something totally different. And I think that's the amazing thing about signs. And also one of the amazing things about God that's not really talked about is that our relationship with God is so personal. God can show you and I the exact same thing, but because we have totally different experiences and because we walk totally different paths in lives, that message could be received so differently. And I just think that's so beautiful. And for a long time, because of the fact that I grew up in church and because of some of the things that I was taught and exposed to in church that, you know, were beautiful in their own right, I didn't believe that I could have my own personal relationship with God or the universe or the creator or Allah or Krishna or whatever you call God. Like, I didn't feel like I could have my own personal relationship. I felt like it had to be done by the book. And I've learned, and I am learning, that that is so not the case. God talks to me in the form of numbers. God talks to me in the form of signs, birds, animals. Trees is another thing for me, or are another thing for me. I've always had a very strong connection with trees. You talk about being a tree hugger. I'm 100% a tree hugger. And I just thought it would be really cool to have like a more one-on-one type conversational video session instead of like me trying to teach things, because I don't really think that I'm a great teacher. But maybe you can take something from what I'm saying just talking to you, and we can have a conversation about it. Now, there are times when I receive signs, and I don't want to say premonitions, but like almost gut feelings when things are about to happen. And to be honest, most of those things for me are surrounded around someone passing away. And it's not always someone that I know. It's not always someone close to me, but it's like a feeling that I get. And it used to scare me. I'll give you a perfect example of something that happened. Well, I don't want to share that without talking to the person about it first. Uh-oh, it looks like we got a little situation here. I'm sorry, y'all. I am driving, so I kind of have to keep my eye on the road. Give me just a second. Figure out what's going on right here. Okay, he just had some car trouble. All right, but yeah, so I want to know what you guys believe about signs, what you believe about, you know, messages received from maybe deceased loved ones. Do you believe that the spirits of our loved ones are limited in their interaction with us? I know a lot of people believe that they can talk to spirits or things like that, and I don't really want to get too far deep into that because I don't want to push anybody away, but I just want to honestly know what people believe. I've had experiences where I honestly believe that the spirits of my ancestors have spoken to me and have protected me, have guided me, have shown me things that in normal circumstances I would have never been able to see or figure out on my own. But everyone's not comfortable having that type of conversation. If you are and you want to share those experiences, let's talk about it. I think that's a big part of our history, especially as African Americans, and this being African American Black History Month. I think it's important that we have these conversations, and I think it ties into the overall scope of the Grave Woman, because I want people to talk about death. In other cultures, people openly talk about communicating with their ancestors. It's not taboo, and I don't feel like it should be here in the United States either. And there are some families and some individuals who are completely open, but then there are other cases where I feel like these type of conversations are commercialized or amped up to be more than what they not more than what they should be, but presented in a way that makes people uncomfortable, and that's totally not what I want to do here. So let me know what you guys think, what experiences you've had, what signs do you believe represent not only death but can be comforting once someone has died. Have you received signs that you believe have come from the spirits of those who have passed away? Let me know. I love you guys as always. Live life, live hard, and I'll talk to you next time. Something else that's very interesting to me is God, and not like God as a whole, because that's like we could go on about that for days. I don't think we could ever actually end that conversation. But in each and every culture that I'm familiar with, God is one of the central focal points when someone passes away. And by that I mean God created man to die, so therefore if you have a life you must die, or God is in control, or the person now is with God, or God bring peace to the family, or God do this and God do that. And it's interesting to me that we all believe in, and I'm not going to say all, because there are people that don't believe in God. There are people that don't believe in anything, and that's cool. I respect it. It's not my belief, but I totally respect it. I can't say I get it, but I respect it. And they have the right to do that. But it's so interesting to me that we all, for the most part, especially as it pertains to religion, believe in God, and we believe the same things, especially when someone passes away, about God. But the way that we view God is so different, and that would be so beautiful if we could all say, I don't believe necessarily what you believe, but I respect it. But the fact that our belief in God, as strong as they are on either side, causes so much division between us. And I've never really understood that, because I can promise you, I've worked hundreds, if not thousands, of funerals. I've met with, I'd say, hundreds of families over the years, and for the most part, every person that I've come into contact with, or every greeting card that I've seen, or flower arrangement that I've seen, is had, I'm praying for you and your family, God's strength for you during this time, or may God bless you and your family during this time, regardless of the religion, regardless of the cultural background, but regardless of the socioeconomic status. And yet the same belief in God separates us so much. So I'm interested to know what you all think about it. You don't have to necessarily get into your personal beliefs about God. That's your business, and you're entitled to have those beliefs regardless of what they are. But why do you all think... Damn camera fell down. Why do you all think that we allow our beliefs in something so beautiful that we all basically believe the same thing about in the end to separate us so much? That's so interesting to me, and always has been. So thought I'd ask that and throw that out there, since we kind of touched on God in the last video. I just wanted to share this. I think this is like one of the most beautiful backdrops ever, and it really makes me think. A couple minutes ago I was, or about an hour ago, I was at the water, but now I'm more so in the farmlands, and it just makes me think. We were talking about home. Home can mean so many different things to so many people. Your definition of home might mean, a beach house near the beach, or your definition of heaven may mean a beach house by the beach, or my definition of heaven could be a mountaintop cabin, or a ice cap mountain or something like that. Or your definition of home can make you think of anything. And to tie everything together and kind of wrap up, that's kind of how I see our experience with God, and especially as it pertains to death. We all are trying to get to the same exact thing, but the way that we think about it is so differently. So the next time someone shares, or you encounter someone who has a different definition of home than you do, just be receptive and respect the fact that they may feel differently. But at the end of the day, if we're in a peaceful place and we're feeling surrounded by love and we're giving that same love out to others, I don't think anything should separate us. I love you guys, and as always, live life and love hard. This is Joelle Anthony, the Grave Woman, and I'll talk